Oh, I'm in the studio with the big boy. The big man.
Am I the big boy?
You're the big boy, Big Kahuna.
Wow.
There you are. Remind me, what episode is this?
18, I think.
18.
18.
Holy shit, mate.
Yeah.
We're 2 away from 20. I didn't think we'd ever get here.
No.
We've come this far.
Up to 18.
Still like
18.
0.3 listeners, I think. Well, we're persistent. Anyways, what are we talking about today in episode 18?
Well, it's more of the Your Dog at Home
Sort of like
saga.
rounding off on the saga,
yeah,
isn't
we'll
it?
call it a saga.
The series. Your Dog at Home series.
Sure. Yeah.
Remember, because we said it was better than the Baseball World Series. That's right.
Yeah, so what I want to talk about today is a little bit of problem solving and identifying things early.
Cool. Problem solving at our end?
At
like
whose end?
The owner, not the dog. Not the dog.
Well, it's both.
Okay.
You know, so things that you don't want, why they start to occur, and identifying problem behaviors early, and being able to sort. Jesus.
Why did I get fined for drinking my tea?
It was.
You rule with an iron fist. I'm going to start calling you Steve Ruskoyovsky.
Oh, I like that actually. Maybe that's.
Yeah, but we were talking about problem solving.
Yeah. So get that thing away from your face with that stupid. What the hell is that?
You've got a Carlton mug as well.
Oh,
Season's only 29 days away.
I knew that tea tasted terrible
Why?
because it was in that disgusting cup.
Oh, shut up. Shut up. Anyways, yeah, we're talking about problem solving on both ends, and we're rounding out. This is the last one in the Your Dog at Home series. So we hope that you enjoy yourselves on this adventure that we call episode 18 of Dog Ugly Dudes Talking Dogs. We've also got a lot of listener questions.
Yeah, actually.
So get pumped about that. Strap yourselves in.
So this was happening a lot. They were derailing all the time.
Let's just see how fast we can get this thing to go. God damn it! How many times is Fluffy going to have his anus looked at?
That it's legal to marry your dog?
I don't know.
Maybe the new version of them is the Dasher.
No, it isn't. Don't ever say that.
I've left you a shit under the rug. How'd you get under there?
I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully.
Yeah. There we go. We didn't get to listen to that one properly on the last episode because you pressed Indian sitar on the
I was fixing
soundboard.
the sticker. If you had better stickers.
You blaming my stickers? Effectively, you're blaming Officeworks, mate. And you don't want to piss them off.
Actually, I'm blaming Avery.
They'll come at you with an arsenal.
Avery.
Avery
Dispenser
labels.
Yeah.
There you go. Don't give us free stuff.
Because we've just shit-canned your product.
Anyway, so this episode, we're going to run along the themes. So we're going to talk about problem solving for you and your dog at home, and sort of round out the Your Dog at Home series. And then we're skipping Breed of the Week because we've got a few listener questions. So don't be too sad about that news. No! Yep, double boo.
Yeah.
I know everybody loves Breed of the Week and the new format.
We've only done one and it hasn't... Oh, yeah, it will have been released now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Jamie Richens out there, I don't even know that's how you say her last name, but we're going to get to your question. I promise I've remembered. And so be pumped for that.
Yes.
She's a regular listener.
Yeah, that's nice. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's nice of her. Yeah.
Her and 3 others.
Yeah.
2 of which are us.
One's a scarecrow. I've just put like headphones on in a paddock somewhere. out in bloody Piercedale. Oh shit.
Yeah, it's
Anyways,
stuff.
kick us off, big guy.
Yeah, well, it's a really difficult place to start because there's so many manifestations of
Problems, yeah.
what we're talking about. So I can't be very specific.
Okay.
But the point that I'm trying to come across or get across is that there will be problems.
Yep.
Number one.
All right.
And identifying those problems as early as possible
Mm-hmm.
and putting things in place to fix them is going to be your best option no matter what.
All right. So maybe we just throw out a few examples. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas of things?
Well,
that
I
you,
was
actually because you're
yeah.
running into things. Right?
Exactly. Well, I was thinking about this before, and it's different for me in such a way that I'm trying to encourage her to bark, like Loco to bark, because later on, this is just something I've found. If I suppress the bark too early as a puppy, for a working dog, it's sort of hard for me to get it back and capture it later. So I'm just encouraging it and managing it now, so she sort of barks at everything, and to some people would be really annoying. So let's look at it from that perspective. So as a puppy, or you've got your new dog and you're hanging around sort of the kitchen area, or you're prepping food, and every now and again you might, like with the new puppy or the new dog, throw them a little bit of like chicken or an off-cut or something like that because they're hanging around, they're cute, you want them to be feel comfortable and love you and stuff like that. And then that manifests into something like, well, it manifests into a problem because then they're going to hang around, they're going to expect it after a few times, and then they're going to test the waters because what they're doing, what they have been doing isn't working anymore. So they're going to push the envelope. They might start barking or pawing at you, which like scratching your leg, doing something like that. That's a problem to me. That's a problem to a lot of other people.
Yes, that's right.
So that's just an example of
Yes.
where some people might have inadvertently reinforced certain behaviors. It could be when you're sitting down at the dinner table and you're all eating and the dog's hanging around like a bad smell. We've spoken about that before. Could be dogs on the bed or the couch. It could be digging behavior in the backyard, something like that.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And so all these types of things, when you have your dogs around the house, there's so many things that they have to be capable of. We know that. And it's not an easy thing for a dog to just basically know exactly what they need to be doing and put away all those innate behaviors and only do the things that we're happy with. So what you'll start seeing when you have a dog in the house is things coming out that that work for the dog, right? That maybe don't work for us.
Exactly
Okay,
right.
So
yeah.
and exactly what you're talking about there, where you've given them a few things because they're being cute in the kitchen, and then all of a sudden they start constantly nagging at you, trying to get onto the counters and all that sort of stuff with bigger breeds.
Yep.
Of course.
Yep.
So what I think the best thing to be aware of in these situations is, okay, I've given the dog a few pieces of food in the kitchen, right?
Yep.
I've started that. That's fair enough. No problem, right? As soon as you start to see something that is a problem there, right? So now the dog is scratching at your foot. Okay, so now all of a sudden you're seeing a behavior that you don't like, right?
Yep.
That's something where I would be aware enough of that to make a note of it and go, okay, what's happened here?
So we literally just observed Loco doing that like this before in the kitchen.
Yes.
So I've taught her to bark on command, which
Yes.
is not too bad for an 8.5, 9-week-old puppy. I'm pretty happy with it where it's at.
Quite good.
She's really enthusiastic about it. So I'm happy with that, but now she's trying it every time I'm in the kitchen. And so
Yes.
when we're eating. So you and I, without actually speaking about it, we knew together what we'd both do. And then we sort of fed off each other's energy and what we were doing. So we'd be there eating and we're talking, and then she's barking, but we're ignoring her. We're not giving her any eye contact. We're not changing the shape of our bodies. We're not doing anything to make her think that she's influencing the situation that's unfolding in front of her.
Exactly.
And then
yes.
when she'd bark a bit more, then we both turned our backs on her, and she's like, what the hell? And then like, just in my head, I like counted to like 30, 45 seconds of her being quiet. I turned around. She was sitting nicely just looking at us, and I said, good girl. And I gave her a bit of food.
Yes.
And then you saw after about 5 to 10 minutes, she started to think, well, when they're doing that or something, when they're standing a certain way or they're ignoring me barking, then I have to be quiet until I'm told to bark.
That's right.
You know?
Yes.
So that
It was
we
quite a
identified
quick-
that.
Yeah.
And it was a quick turnaround.
Yeah,
It
and-
can be.
And that's the thing. It can be that quick.
It can be very quick.
if you catch it that quick.
Yep.
Right? So it started happening, and we didn't even think about it because that's what we're aware of, right?
Yep.
So it started happening, and we immediately countered it. Mm-hmm. So that's what you have to start to think about when you have a new dog at home is how am I going to counter this and counter it really quickly?
Absolutely.
And there's a couple of ways to go about things like that. You can either say, okay, I no longer want them in the kitchen, right?
Yep.
So, but now you have to make that a rule.
Absolutely.
So dogs no longer allowed in the kitchen.
Yep.
And then you have to implement a strategy to make that happen because you've already rewarded them for being in the kitchen.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So now you have to actually go against what you had already started, which is again why I spoke about establishing rules in one of the first
and being
episodes.
really consistent. Yeah.
Yes, and being consistent with them, and really think about those rules that you're establishing. Because once you start to reward them, to try and change them is a real problem.
Absolutely.
So anyway, you now establish that there is a problem there, and you're doing something to counteract what it is that they want at that time. So in her situation, she wanted to get your attention to give her something else, right? Because you were asking her to bark and she was getting something for it. Why is it not working if you don't ask me?
Yeah.
Right? So she needs to realize that that's just not the rules.
That's not the rules, yeah.
Right? Yes. And so by completely ignoring her and not saying anything at all in that case, I think that's the best option.
Yep.
Because I do think with a lot of dogs, when they do those types of things, more people will show interest in the dog, even if it's in a negative form. So
yeah, like shut up, stop it.
Exactly, right? Quiet, all those things. When they're telling the dog to be quiet, but for the dog, their bark is still eliciting some sort of response.
And I tried, so I quickly figured out. So she's quite versed with the delta. So my it's a very abrupt, loud noise that is meant to be an aversive and tell her it's a way of me communicating to her that that's not what you should continue doing.
Yes, absolutely.
But she was interpreting that as, okay, I'll just bark some more. I'll bark some more.
Right.
And so I was like, nope, I'm going to go the complete negative punishment way and give her nothing.
Exactly.
No eye contact, no body gestures or anything like that.
No looking at them.
Looking.
As minimal as a look can be a problem.
Absolutely.
And there's a breed that we want to talk about in another episode that quite often, it's a very common breed, but it quite often goes against the grain as far as things that would normally be aversive to a dog.
We're talking... Oh, yeah. So we're not doing breed of the week.
Yeah. But it goes against the grain of dogs that way.
Yep.
And you do something that you think is going to be a punishment for that dog, and they're like, oh yeah,
I loved
bring it on.
Yeah, because I just got interaction.
Exactly. Some of you are going to guess what type of dog that is.
Yeah, you should be able to guess.
Yeah, but it's again, you have to be aware of what the dog wants at that time. So in that situation, a lot of people would think, oh, well, they just want food. So if I don't give them the food, then they'll change that behavior.
No,
but that's not true.
Because they're still influencing the situation in the picture.
Exactly.
And then the way that they're influencing it ultimately means that, instead of getting the reward straight away, they just have to change the picture just a little bit more.
That's right.
Until eventually they're going to get it. And that's what the picture then looks like.
Yes, the barking gets better because
of it. Yeah. You're causing frustration, but their bark is still changing what you're doing.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
the same thing applies to a dog scratching at you or something like that. If you reach down and acknowledge them in any form,
they're going to continue.
They're going to continue to do it. That's right. Yep. Unless it's a very, very aversive response that they receive, which I disagree with. I don't think that's at all what you should be doing in that situation, because they don't know that behavior is wrong, and you're just smashing them for something that's...
It's so crazy just how much... Well, I know my perception has changed since we've started doing this podcast of applying aversive... aversives to a situation with the dog. Yeah, it's just like the dog doesn't know that it's the wrong thing.
Exactly.
So
and half the time we've taught them the wrong thing on accident.
Exactly.
So if you teach them the wrong thing on accident, and then you smash them for doing the wrong thing in any form, I mean, like even just yelling at them harshly, I think is unacceptable in those situations when you've taught them to do it.
That's right.
And then you can imagine at work or something like that, your boss tells you to do something, tells you to do it, and says, this is your job, you need to do this, and then you go and do that, and then they fire you for it.
That sounds like the army.
Well, yeah.
Where's the law? Wow, you just described the army, man.
And then you're like, come on, you've just told me to do this. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Right? That's that's basically what you're doing to your dog. You know, and it's just not really an acceptable thing to be doing. If you then show the dog exactly what you want first and say, this is what I would like, and those other things are not going to work, then you can safely say, okay, the dog understands what I want and what I don't want. So then when they start doing the thing I don't want, again, now I can insert a correction here.
Yep, exactly, man.
And then it's fair.
Yep.
Whereas, just going straight to that, in my opinion, is not the correct thing to do.
No.
And that's something that is actually really quite difficult. So it's much, much easier to correct a dog with an aversive straight away at the time that they're doing the wrong thing and sort out the problem that way. But it's not the fair way to do it.
Nope.
So you have to get creative in how you're going to do it. And we, in that situation there, it's not creative to us, but to another person, that's like could be quite foreign to just your dog's barking at you and doing the wrong thing, and you just don't acknowledge it at all. That could be quite foreign, because most people would think, well, you should tell them that they're doing the wrong thing. Yeah, but they'll know that they're doing the wrong thing when they don't achieve any outcome.
Yeah. I think if people understood that a lot of the times dogs are gambling with you, like they're treating you like a poker machine. Like, we'll go back to the poker machine analogy. It's just like, well, what are we going to get here? What are we going to get if I offer these behaviors?
Yeah, that's right.
Because they've worked in the past. Like, I've gambled on this machine before.
Yes.
And it's paid out. So, instead of people thinking like that they're an annoying child and that they know exactly what they're doing is annoying you, like, they don't know what they're doing is annoying you.
No, they don't think they're annoying you at all.
They don't think they're annoying you.
Yeah.
They think this got me success last time.
Yeah.
They're not purposefully, they're not vindictive. They're not going out of their way to piss you off.
That's right.
And annoy you. It's just, this is how I've always done it. This has always worked for me.
Yeah, which is completely unlike children, because I was a shithead.
Yeah.
And
I was too.
I can just imagine you being like,
oh man,
I'm going to make mom mad today.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And sometimes I lay awake at night and feel bad about the things I've done. Especially school, man.
Yeah.
God. I was a bad dude.
But you're not as bad now, so.
Well, who knows?
But
anyways, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you go.
So back to that. The main point to take from this is you have to realize there's a problem, something that goes against what you want immediately. If you don't want your dog running up to the door and barking when someone knocks on it, and the dog starts doing that, you need to
manage it better from the start.
You need to establish that that's not what I want. So what happens if someone knocks on the door? How am I going to solve this?
Yep.
Right? And if you can't answer that question, and the dog is able to do it and get away with it over and over and over again, well, then you've just strengthened that behavior.
Exactly. And you've got to understand what the dog wants from that situation. Does the dog want the person at the door to go away? Does the dog, when it runs to the door and it starts barking, want that door to open so that they can interact with that person?
Yes, exactly.
There's two different things there, man.
Exactly.
You have to understand. It's not one size fits all. So you really need to... And if you're not versed in the ways of dog psychology and training, like, I would heavily advise that you get a trainer.
Yes, and someone who understands
exactly.
these things. Because not all trainers are equal either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not created equal, and a lot of them don't put in as much effort. But, if you get a good trainer will tell you all these things and help you understand in one session.
Yes, exactly.
And then you might have subsequent sessions after that, and it's just, you don't have to have dog training for your whole life. You just might need to outlay a little bit of cost,
yes,
to help you on your happy journey with your dog.
That's right. Yeah, that or take a course on dog behavior and
psychology,
and then you'll be able to figure it out quite a
Absolutely.
bit easier. But again, with
that
that
thing,
not...
it's like you definitely have to understand what is going on.
Yes,
if the dog's defensive and it's resource guarding the house and it doesn't want anybody to come in, which is what, like, Arrow would do. But that's a behavior that you want to strengthen.
That's right. Yeah,
that's what I would want to strengthen.
Exactly. Yes.
I don't care if my dog runs to the door and barks. It's like, is really like guttural and it's
I
barking,
really want that. And and that's something that's an established rule. So if the doorbell goes and my dogs take off to the door and start carrying on, I'm like, good
Yeah,
dogs.
good dogs.
You know,
Yep.
and then if I need to let that person in, I remove the dogs from the situation.
You've
put them
managed the
outside.
situation.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
And then I set up a new situation for them to meet that person if they need to.
Exactly.
But the whole point of that exercise is, you know, if that's what I want, then I'm never ever going to chastise them for it.
Nuh-uh.
You know, you can put things in
A
place.
lot of people, and I've seen that happen a lot as well, is that one time the dogs will be praised for it because, you know...
because it was someone who is weird.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something, you know?
Yeah, that it's someone who's unfamiliar, and the owner's like, "Oh, good dogs," like, you know, praises them hard, and then next thing it'll be someone that owner knows that's come to the door, and then they'll be embarrassed that
Yes.
the dog's done it, and they'll be like, they'll scold him, and
Yes.
it's like, well, the dog doesn't know that it's that person.
That's right. The cue is
The cue
the person
is
being
exactly
there.
right. Yeah.
Without knowing who they are.
100%,
Yeah.
man. So
and that is again one of those things that you've taught your dog to do, and then you now decided that in certain circumstances it's not acceptable, and you
gotta be consistent.
Yeah, you got to be consistent in anything that you're doing.
there's not enough variable in that for the dog to understand that. Okay, so I do it this time, and then I don't do it this time.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't work.
And you
like
know
that.
what? All this stuff is tenfold when you get a rescue dog.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't know what they've learned.
Yep.
Right. So then you first have to establish what have they learned in the past. What
Yeah.
are they doing?
You have to put your little detective hat on, hire Sherlock Holmes to be your second man.
That's right.
And then find out what's happened.
And then you have to go against all those things that don't fit in your new
That's right.
environment that you
Yep.
want that dog to live in.
Yep.
And this is where, you know, the rescue dogs can be quite difficult.
Challenging, man.
Quite difficult for
That's
people.
right.
Yeah.
But so we've spoken about when a dog doesn't want someone at the door, and we'll just quickly touch off before we finish this once and for all. If a dog wants somebody to come in the door, so they've barked, and then the door opens, and then so two things have happened there. The dog's barking has forced the door open, and then the person has come inside, so they've multiplied the effects of the reinforcement by getting the pats from the person that they want as well.
Yes.
So they've influenced their environment and then been reinforced by their behavior.
Exactly.
So you really need to manage that situation hard out from the start. So if you think that that's what's going to happen, then you need to, like, if you know someone's coming to the door, you know, that's in your family or a friend or something, maybe hit them up and be like, "Yeah, like I'm nearly there. Like I'm coming to the door." And it's like, "All right, well, hold on. I'm going to put the dog away."
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Or manage it on leash.
Or see, this is the other thing. If you got someone that you know, this is what I tell clients all the time. If you got someone that you know that is willing to help you to train them,
Yep.
and your dog has a problem with that, that's when I would tell them, look, knock on the door.
Yep.
And it might be 5 minutes before I can let you in.
That's right.
You know, but because
That is the best way.
Yeah, because I'm going to
Yeah.
wait till the dog stops
Stops.
doing what it's doing.
Yep.
And
Calms down,
and
maybe.
then I'm going to open the door.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
And that's going to show the dog what actually gets the door open rather
Yep.
than what it thinks gets the door
But
open.
you might be standing there a while, like you said. It might be more than 5 minutes,
That's
but you
right.
just don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, so that's all good. I think we've done it, man. Like, we haven't covered off on every problem-solving situation that could possibly happen in the house,
Which
but
is going to be next to impossible.
it's
to
next
do.
to impossible.
Yeah.
You know,
And that, like,
it's
if
like,
there's
what if
anything
my dog
specific-
takes aluminium trays, puts them in the microwave, and turns it on for 5 minutes?
That exactly.
You know, that happens.
It's happened to me
Happens a
4 or
lot.
5 times.
Yeah.
You know? and you know, we're never going to be able to cover off on all the different things that dogs are willing to do.
What if my dog shits in the dryer?
See,
Turns it on.
Penny did that the other day.
Full 2 hour cycle.
Oh.
You're going to get a big dry shit and a house that smells like shit.
Oh, and we've taken a tangent.
Yeah, but that's it for Your Dog at Home series.
Yes. And any specific questions about it,
We can continue. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can continue.
more than happy to answer.
You are a guru at this shit, man. Like, I always bounce my Your Dog at Home questions off you.
I've had a lot of dogs in my home, including
Yes,
clients'
and
dogs.
yeah, you're the guru.
It does.
It's been a
helps.
pleasure doing this journey with you.
Oh, well, thanks, Josh.
But like I said, we're not doing Breed of the Week. But
No, sadly.
but we sadly sells up for another segment that hasn't featured this year
Yeah.
at all,
Yeah.
and it's called Big Una's Mailbag.
It's question time for Big Kahuna. Like, why does little Fluffy always shit on my doona? Why she bite my girlfriend when I'm trying to spoon her? And all these questions and more on Big Kahuna's Mailbag. Ruff, ruff.
Alrighty, we got something new today because we've set up a Dog Ugly Dudes Talking Dogs Big Kahuna Mailbag hotline.
Yes.
And we've got a few
took
people.
a lot of effort to get that up.
So this is what you will get if you call in. So this is. Thank you for calling.
Don't get upset.
Hotline. We look forward to answering your question as soon as possible. Please note that if you have written into Instagram or Facebook, we may take creative license and put it on our hotline anyway. We got a hotline.
What the
I don't
hell
know.
did you do?
I've accidentally synced up that button with "Don't Get Upset" as well. So that didn't go as well as I'd like. But you get the idea.
Oh God! Why don't we just reset that situation and do it again?
I can't.
Yes, you can.
I can't because if I press that button, it's like.
Don't get upset.
So you press it once and it says that, but if you hold it down, that's the hotline. So I've I've gone and fucked it up.
You cocked that one up
No,
pretty
cocked
good.
it up. Anyways, we got our first. Let's just reference the hotline here. What do we got?
Anyway, I'm Chip Tuckett. I'm from Alabama, and I'm a real big fan of y'all boys and what you're doing. I got I forgot my question. Bye.
Who's that?
That's sounds like Chip Tuckett from Alabama.
He didn't even ask a question.
Yeah, he forgot it. He forgot it.
He's
Chip,
drunk.
if you're listening,
Drunk.
if you're listening, I really hope that.
Oh man.
I really hope that you remember your question and you can phone up the hotline and
Give us another
go at it. I hope there's not another button associated with this. This is gonna do me in. Anyways, here's another one.
Hey fellas,
Oh.
not sure if it's suitable for Big Kahuna's Mailbag,
Oh.
but if it is, I would like to know how one would manage / counteract a dog who is tool savvy, ? You've got a dog that will walk on a check chain, or a prong, or a head collar, in brackets, vomit, but it's a common tool. But
So
you just
true.
can't seem to transition them back to a flat collar without losing engagement and a loose leash. Thank you very much, guys. Jamie from the Yarra Ranges.
Wow, Jamie, I didn't think that would be your
That
voice.
was not the voice I was expecting for James.
That was not
Jamesy.
Jamie.
It sounded more like a Jamesy.
It sounded more like a Jamesy.
Although we can't be.
No,
we have
let's
to be,
not judge.
Yeah.
Let's not budge. Let's not judge. If in doubt, let's eat some fudge. That's what my grandma used to say.
Oh man. Okay, so tool savvy. Let's talk about what.
Yeah,
that,
I call that collar wise.
Is
man.
it? Is this a girl or a guy? Well,
Jamie? Jamie's a girl. Yeah.
Nondescript gender.
Nondescript gender.
Yeah.
Her and her partner Mitch always comment on the Facebook page, and I never get around to checking Facebook because I just don't do it. But they're probably our number one ticket holder fans.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Well,
Mitch has a Y-head pointer.
Oh yeah. Oh, sweet. Well, tool savvy.
Yeah.
There's lots of different things.
Yeah, I call it collar wise.
Collar wise, but tool savvy is a good word for it because it doesn't describe what tool you're using.
Exactly.
So, what she means by that, I believe, and I'm just going to speak for her on this,
Yep.
is that when there's a tool involved, and tools being, like your correction chains and all that, e-collars and those things.
Of the ilk, yes.
Yes, the dog is really quite good. And then as soon as you take those things off, it loses all capability and is no longer any good at doing the commands that it has learned with those things.
Yep.
So an example would be, let's say, an e-collar. Dog recalls perfectly when the e-collar's on.
Yep.
As soon as you take the e-collar off, no recall
Yeah,
whatsoever.
all bets are off.
Yeah, and they will just do whatever they can to get away with it.
Uh-huh.
I think there are two forms of this. So there's one form which is tool savvy, and then there's another form which is contextual learning.
True.
So I don't think that those are the same. And
All right, explain to me.
okay, so a dog that has only ever done loose lead walking on a halter
Yes,
will only know to do loose lead walking on a halter,
that's right.
because when you take away the
contextual.
halter,
Yeah.
especially the halters,
Yeah.
especially them, because with them, the dog has learned that when there's a little bit of pressure, it's okay, and when there's a lot of pressure, it's not okay. So they've never ever gone into an avoidance type scenario with those types of things. So they are always going to expect to feel it, and when they don't feel it, then they can continue moving forward, right?
Okay. Yep.
So let's say, for example, you have the dog on a halter, right?
Yep.
And it starts to pull forward. It feels the pressure, and then it releases that pressure.
Yep.
That's escape learning. We have touched on that before, but that's escape learning, and the dog is always sort of in that escape paradigm with those things. Well, for the most part, with most people that are using them. So in order to make that situation work without the halter on, you would have to get the dog to realize that zero tension whatsoever is always the best option. And as soon as the collar is on, there's no tension at all ever, right? And then when you switch them to something else, you have to, ideally what will happen there is the dog will understand that, okay, I've never put any tension, and I've always had good things happening. And as soon as I ever put tension on, it gets really bad, and I definitely want to avoid that.
Yep.
So when you put them to a flat collar, let's say,
Uh-huh.
and they don't even think to put tension on. But if they haven't gone into that avoidance phase, what'll happen is they'll go to put tension on a little bit because they know that that's okay. A little bit of tension is fine.
Yep.
As soon as they put that little bit of tension, nothing bad happens. It doesn't get any worse. So they continue to keep putting more tension because that tension never causes them any problems. Then what they do is they learn that putting tension on that flat collar is fine.
Yep.
Right. So it's not so much being tool savvy. It's sort of contextual. When the halter's on, this is what happens, and when it's not on, this is what happens.
Yep.
It's two different things. I've done that with Arrow. If I put a flat collar on him, he's allowed to pull.
Yes.
If I put a check chain on him, he's not.
That's right.
Right. So
It's what a lot of people do.
yeah, and that's contextual learning. That's not tool savvy.
No.
Totally contextual learning. But tool savvy, this is a different one. So let's say let's use the remote collar and the recall as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Your dog, you're doing recall with the remote collar. You're calling your dog back, and when they don't come back, there's a consequence for it because you can use the remote collar to give them a consequence.
That's right.
Regardless of how you started that training and all that, doesn't matter. We're getting to the end result. The dog does come back when the remote collar's on. Now, before you create a good pattern of behavior there,
Mm-hmm.
you start taking the remote collar off the dog and trying it without it. So, don't know if it's ready yet, but let's try it, right? So, dog goes out, you try to call them back, they don't listen. It's too exciting for them. They didn't listen.
I'd
right?
have a long line on the dog if I was going to do that.
Of course, but even so, it won't make much difference.
No, it's not going to
Okay.
make a huge amount of difference.
That's right. So what happens here, though, is this: the dog doesn't do the right behavior. There's no consequence. Now they're going, why? Why didn't I get in trouble for that? Right?
You didn't have the collar on.
And then if it happens multiple times that way, and then it happens multiple times where the collar's on, they start to understand that, okay, when the collar's on me, there's a consequence, and when it's not on me, there's no consequence.
Scuba knew that all the time when he put the bar collar on.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
As soon as he went in his kennel without it on, he would bark relentlessly.
Yes. Yeah, and
for at least a half an hour.
And realistically, when I think about it, it is sort of a contextual learning thing even
it
there,
is. Yeah.
It's not necessarily a collar. I
It's
guess
like the head
color-wise and
halter, man.
contextual.
Yeah, yeah. He feels that little bit of pressure there, and it's like, well, if I've got that bit of pressure and I do this, this will happen. But if the pressure's not there and I do this, that won't happen.
Yes.
It's contextual.
Yes, exactly.
In a lot of ways. But like, yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying with so it's probably not a good example, the one that I just said, as, you know, Scoob's being tool savvy.
But I would say it is kind of a tool savvy thing. So it's a really hard one to give good examples that are going to work for everybody. But to answer the question, how do you stop it? How do you stop a dog from being tool savvy? The answer to that is use a tool that you can always have on and isn't.
That's right.
And that can always work. So an example would be if you're trying to use a head halter for off lead work, it's impossible.
Yep.
It's useless to me.
That's right.
So what I like to do is use in my training, I would use a remote collar for all the different types of training, and I would have that collar on them all the time.
Yes.
Anytime I'm doing training.
For sure, man. Yeah.
Simple as that. Then if you've always had it on for a long period of time, and that time should be, you know, to the point that the dog is perfect at the commands.
Yep.
They have to be perfect at it. And they're in avoidance on all the commands, where if they do the wrong thing, they never do the wrong thing because they don't want to have the consequence. To me, you're almost never going to be at that stage.
Mm-hmm.
So you should always be thinking, okay, we need to have this tool on the dog, right?
Absolutely.
And then when it's not on there, every once in a while, if you let your dog out or it runs off somewhere or something like that, and the tool is not on, you call them back, they are just going to do it. Simple as that. They have not had an opportunity to become collar savvy.
Yeah, it's just never happened.
It's just never been an opportunity, because every time they've been told to do that command, there has been a consequence available, right?
Yep.
And then when at the first time that there is no consequence available, they're not going to do the wrong thing, because there's just,
yeah, you
know, there's no chance of that they're going to do the wrong thing, because they know that there's a consequence.
Okay.
Right? And if you put them in a situation where it's a really different new situation, and you expect them to maybe do the wrong thing, and they don't have the collar on, well, then you've just failed miserably in your training at that point, you know?
Uh-huh.
I find the halters to be one of the easiest tools to create that
Huge
problem
problems with, yeah.
Yeah. Because they rely on minimal amounts of pressure.
Yep.
You know, well, in the way that most people use them. I know that there are ways to use them that are more effective and properly used, but that is not the way that they are normally used.
Okay.
So for the sake of that, they're one that causes a lot of problems that way.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
To summarize it though, like, so that we can put it in a little box and put a bow on it, what would you say?
I would say that any tool that you're using when you're doing your training, if you don't want your dog to be tool savvy, then make sure that you've always got a correction in place for the things that you would normally correct them for with that tool.
Yep.
You know, and if you don't have something in place, and it can be related back to the fact that there's no tool there, then the dog will become tool savvy.
Yep.
There's just no other way around it.
Yep.
It's just how it is. So
cool, man.
That's the basics of it, you know.
Alrighty.
Always use the tools if that's what the consequence is, and if you don't have the consequence in place, then you're going to have problems with it.
Alrighty, Jamie and Mitch, there you go. I hope that's been helpful.
Mm.
Thank you for that, mate. We've got one more. If I can just humour you, we've got one more. Okay.
Who else is calling it?
I don't know.
You're right, lads. This is Alex. I'm actually from Proudfoot in the south of Scotland, and I've listened to you lads for a long time. I have a lot of respect for you and that. Basically, my mother's got this little dandy de Monterey, and
what is it?
What did he say?
For the majority of her young life, she was actually hanging out with the ducks outside, and there was a time where she actually saw him take off and fly away, and she actually tried to do it herself. And I've seen her a lot of times actually trying to jump off the retaining wall, and it's led to a lot of vet bills, I tell you that much. How do I stop it for status and convince her that she's actually not a duck? Thanks.
Okay.
Alex.
Did he say?
I don't know. I think he said he's from Portfoot in Scotland. and I think that he said, I think Dandy Dinmont Terrier.
Hold on, let me just see what this thing is.
Have a look
first.
at. I refer to the big breed of.
No, I'll get it up quicker.
You get it up. Okay.
Oh my god, are you seeing this thing?
The Dandy Dinmont.
Oh wow,
Where is
it is
she?
like a.
Where's the Dandy?
It does look like it should be able to fly. Actually, this puff on its head is ridiculous.
Where are you, Dandy?
It's got little feathers on the bottom as well. It actually kind of looks like a duck. What did he say? It's been jumping off of the retaining
For the retaining wall. Yeah.
And it's, how high
Alex?
is this retaining wall?
I don't know, man. I'd love to know how high it is as well. Yeah. But,
well, it sounds like big vet bills, so
sounds
probably
like big
pretty
vet
high.
bills,
Yeah.
But look, Alex, I don't want to alarm you, but your dog may be suicidal.
Okay, this is actually a very strange question. My best answer would be.
What are you going to say?
It's really. I think the only way to fix this is for what's his name?
Alex.
Alex. Okay. Yeah, so, Alex, what you're gonna have to do, I think, is you're gonna have to go out
Yeah.
and show the dog that it is a dog by doing dog things.
So you're suggesting that he gets down on all fours and acts like a dog in front of the Dandy Dinmont Terrier,
It sounds like the dog is pretty good at
emulating duck stuff.
well, copying.
Duck stuff.
And I think if it's quite good at that, this is a skill that some dogs are well versed in. And if this dog is is
you
copying,
need to show it. You need to show it the way.
Yeah, show it how to be a dog.
Show her how to be a Dandy Dinmont Terrier.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
And
maybe show her a few YouTube videos.
yeah, and just I mean, I would probably manage that situation where the dog just keeps jumping off of the
Yeah,
the retaining wall. Put something up there. I think there should be something there anyways.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like if a kid fell off there, you'd be in some
you'd
serious
be in some
trouble.
serious shit.
But yeah, I'm thinking the best option is going to be to use your skill as looking like a dog
Maybe.
to your advantage, and try and train the dog to be a dog that way.
All right.
I mean,
okay.
I don't think there's any other way.
I don't think there is either.
No.
You know, thinking about it now,
Thinking.
I think you're in a lot of duck and trouble.
Oh man.
Bad puns.
Yeah.
Oh, I just laughed so hard. Like, the temples hurt.
Popped your brain.
Yeah, like.
Yeah. That is
Anyways, thanks though.
a bizarre question,
Thanks
I
for.
have to say.
I have a
I've never
feeling
heard
that
of
we
it.
might hear from him again.
Well, I think I'd like to know how he goes.
All right. Well, yeah. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
sure if you're listening, which I'm sure you are, then hit us up again.
Yeah, I've never had this as a problem. This is a brand new thing for me.
Let us
But
know.
all I'm thinking is that if you have a dog that's copying other things,
Yeah.
then give it something to copy that you're happy with.
Yeah. You set the example.
Yeah, you set the example.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Get down, roll in your own shit.
Yeah,
Stuff
if
like that.
If that's what you want him
Yeah.
to do.
If that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know. Anyways, that's it for episode 18.
Ah.
Dog Ugly Dudes Talking Dogs. And that's the end of the Your Dog at Home series.
Yes.
Well, it's been fun, but I'm glad to see the back of it.
Me too.
What about you?
Yeah.
What do we got next time?
We got taking your dogs out in public.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
A whole new set
It's
of
a
problems, a whole
continuation.
new set of skills.
Yeah, it's a continuation. So, I don't know when the next episode's going to be out. Hopefully it won't be a drastically long amount of time. But we're pretty busy, and I think I'm going away. I am going away. So, you'll get it when you get it.
Yeah.
You get what you get, and you don't get upset.
That's right.
All right. So,
Don't get upset.
that's right. Don't get upset. So if you've got any questions, feel free to hit us up, and or you can call the hotline. Conversely, make sure you give us a rating on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen. If you want to tell us how good you think this is or how bad it is, just let us know, and we appreciate all the feedback we get. Anyways, you guys have a great weekend, and have fun with your family, your friends, and your little pooches in your lives. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye.